church, anybody here from the AME church?
Yes.
So you have a few AME members here who know a little about the background of the AME church. And certainly the AME church was founded in 1874 by Richard Allen, back in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Richard Allen started in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a church called St. George Methodist Episcopal Church. They were members of that particular church. But you could imagine in the mid-1700s you had things like color restrictions, where you could sit, where you could pray. They had membership with restrictions. In the fall of 1787, Richard Allen and others were praying in a designated area within the church, and they were told they could not, they were praying in an area of the church, were told they could not pray in that particular area. So they were kind of forcibly removed from their knees and told to stop praying. So that was kind of the culminating event for Richard Allen in 1787 to decide that he was going to leave that particular church and formed his own church, which was called that time the Free African Society. The Free African Society was the precursor for the AME church. Okay? Now here in Charleston, you had a lot of restrictions. You had travel restrictions, etc. Now I'm in the early, actually mid-1800s. We had Morris Brown, and many of you have heard of Morris Brown. Yeah. We have Morris Street, not too far from here. We have Morris Brown AME Church. We have Morris Brown College. But Morris Brown led the effort to affiliate the African Americans. I'll use the term African Americans. You know, we were using other terms during those times. But Morris Brown led the effort to leave the Methodist Church here in Charleston and affiliate himself with the Free African Society. That's 1818. One of the noted members of that group, and when they did that, so you understand it, it gets a little complicated. When they did that, they had 3 churches. It was a conglomeration of churches called the Bethel Circuit. Those churches are located in Cow Alley, Hempstead, Hanover, and Reed. One of those churches, the Hempstead congregation, was the precursor for the Emmanuel congregation. One of the noted members of the Bethel Circuit was Denmark Vesey. You saw the little monument inside here that talks to you a little about Denmark Vesey. But Denmark Vesey was a member of that particular church. Denmark Vesey planned the slave revolt here within Charleston in 1822. Someone told about the planned slave revolt. And historically we know who told about the planned slave revolt. But Denmark Vesey and some 34 others were arrested, accused, and they were hung. So you had 34 people who were executed that were members of the church. Some 31 others were also deported. You also had Denmark Vesey's family. His wife was sent to Liberia, his son was sent to Cuba, another son remained here within Charleston through 1865. Now if you fast forward a little, now the state legislation changes and said that African Americans could no longer worship freely. That's why it says from 1834 to 1865. That meant that the law said from 1834 to 1865, African Americans could not worship. So the land for this particular church was purchased somewhere between 1834 and 1865. That street that's behind you, Calhoun Street, was called Boundary Street. African Americans did not purchase land north of Boundary Street. So this was the boundary of the city. So that's why the land was purchased on this side. This was the first time that you hear the name being used, Emmanuel. That's in 1865. So the people that came out of the Hempstead congregation, when they went underground, saved their money, stayed together, 1,000 strong, and then bought land for this particular edifice between 1834 and 1865. So now in 1872, they built a church here on this site in 1872. Denmark Vesey's son was one of the members that helped them build the church. That church was destroyed by the earthquake in 1886. The church was rebuilt again in 1891. That's the edifice you see right now. That's the church that was built in 1891. it still has its original pews, the original floors, the 3 chandeliers, the stained glass windows, the organ that was purchased and dedicated in 1908. That organ was purchased for $800. The organ now is insured for $2.5 million. And it's still the organ that we use every day every Sunday, within the church. Reverend Nichols led the effort to have this church built in 1891. Reverend Nichols considered Emmanuel and the building of Emmanuel in 1891 his greatest achievement. So Reverend Nichols and his wife are both entombed in the steeple of the church. So we still have Reverend Nichols and his wife forever. This church has always been involved in the community. Dr. Martin Luther King came here and preached from the altar here within this church through the 60s, as long as many other noted civil rights activists. The church and our own Reverend Pinckney, before he was murdered, was a state senator here in South Carolina. Reverend Kane, who was the first preacher here at Emmanuel, actually was a congressman from South Carolina. He went on to be a president at a university. He also founded Lincolnville right here in Charleston, South Carolina, which is near Somerville. This church has a capacity of 2,500 if you use the upper level and the lower level, and it has the 2 balconies on both sides. The church inside is built from a European style, which means the choir loft sits in the rear of the church up top, and that's how it was done during the European construction. That's I know that's fast, so I know your time. That's the history of Mother Emmanuel. We're coming close to our 200th anniversary. So you have to remember, we started way back 1787, then we went back into 1818, and then it was a conglomeration of churches. Out of that grew this particular church, because there were 3 churches. Anybody have any questions? Okay. When you look underneath, you see that they did, back during Spalato, not this year, a monument for Denmark Vesey. Denmark Vesey's statue sits in Hampton Park, which is on the west end of town. And when you look around, I know you can see that steeple, and around that church, you will see the Embassy Suites. The Embassy Suites is the original citadel, and it looks just like the citadel, but that was put there to protect the city after you had the planned revolt. But there are a lot of other historical things that tie into what happened and why it happened. Okay? But thank you for taking the time to come and visit Mother Emmanuel. And I hope that you could come and spend service with us tomorrow at 9:30 when we have the service. Yes, sir. Lee Bennett. Lee Bennett. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Swinging home, stop in.